Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dutchy Gaming, and a video looking at how to get a really good claw for 2 to 4x that rivals these 800 LE DPS claws that are up for 15 plus exalts on trade. So I mentioned briefly in one of my previous videos on how to craft a tri LE DPS claw that could be upwards of 800 LE DPS. But the first thing I want to get into people's heads is LE DPS means very little, and the sooner you realize that, the sooner you're going to be able to get a better claw for much cheaper. This is especially true for a lightning strike build, and I'm going to explain how to buy and craft a claw that can rival a 14x claw for 2 to 3x. Now in this example, one claw will be half the LE DPS of the other claw, but will actually be more DPS on your build. So I'll first explain the reason LE DPS is not a great way to measure a claw, and the main reason is really because of one craft that we've got available on our crafting bench for one exalt, and that's up to 13% elemental penetration. LE penetration is the biggest stat you can get on your claw other than lightning damage, unless you're an omni build. And in nearly all cases, it's better to have LE penetration and 2 elemental rolls than 3 high elemental rolls on your claw. So let's dive into an example. So I've searched trade for 2 different claws with 2 different criteria. The first claw, I've just put in 400 LE DPS with 7.6% crit. The second search, I've done the same crit, but I've asked for 800 LE DPS. And these are the 2 claws I've pulled out to work with. So at a glance, claw B looks hands down the better claw. But what if I was to tell you that for most lightning strike builds, with a little bit of tweaking, the first claw is actually more DPS? So what we'll do now, we'll load up POB for my lightning strike character as it is at the moment, and let's put both claws into POB. I've put the 2 claws in already. So this is my claw at the moment. It's a tri LE claw with T1 attack speed and really high crit chance. So if we put in the 14x claw from trade, I'm actually going to lose around 5% DPS, but this one doesn't have a harvest craft on it. But straight out the box, the 14x claw is less DPS than the one I'm going, so I'm never going to buy that one as an upgrade. So what if we were to put in this 2x claw that we've got from trade compared to the 14x, and again it goes down nearly 7% DPS. Now that is a big drop, and it kind of explains why there's a difference in prices. But considering the difference is 12x, that's not exactly too bad. So we look at my claw, I've got 7 million projectile DPS. If we look at the 14x trade claw, it's 6.7. And if we bring in this 2x claw, it's 6.2. So it does drop considerably for each downgrade, as you might want to call it. But what if we take this claw, which has got crafted coal, which literally does nothing, realistically, because we get so much flat damage anyway, and remove that craft, and then we go and craft penetration, and then at some point once you've crafted it, if it doesn't hit 13, you would harvest divine it to get it up to 13, and we'll add that to the build instead. Now if we compare the 2 claws, we have 6.77 million DPS for the 2, which is now a 3x claw, and we've got 6.69 for the 14x claw, which can't really be improved other than maybe getting 2% extra attack speed, which would cost you an exalt or divine. So let's say you were to divine this to 20% attack speed. Let's make it absolutely fair. So if we remove that and then we add one that's 20. So this is probably going to put the claws about on par. So yeah, so the trade one now, just by about 0.1% of DPS, overtakes this 3x claw, but they're exactly the same for all intents and purposes because LE pen is such a massive stat. And that's why I think people are searching for claws wrong. And I did the same. I'd go onto the trade site. I would go, right, I want at least a 700 LE DPS claw, but you're only going to get 700 LE DPS if you've got 3 elements. So you're probably showing a load of claws there that aren't as good as 2x claw that just needs 1 craft. Now, obviously, you need to find the right claw, but when I looked on trade, there was like at least 10 or 15 examples of this claw for 2 to 4x that you could get, and someone had crafted either fire or cold damage on it or something that was not really optimal. And let's be honest, you're not going to put an X craft on a claw if you're going to sell it. And that's the way you really want to be looking to buy claws. If you want an upgrade to your build and you've not got a great claw and you've got 3 to 4x, this is exactly how I'd do it. You go into trade, look for a low LE DPS claw. You want one that's already got lightning on it with an open prefix. craft Ellie pen, and you're away. So let's look at the claws in terms of stats. So if we look at this 14x claw, you can see the elemental DPS looks insane. 825 elemental DPS. That number automatically sings to people and you say, wow, that claw's absolutely amazing. If we look at this 3x claw, which it is now, it's 420 LE DPS. Yeah, it's pretty much identical in damage to the one that's 14x, and that's, yeah, it's double the elemental DPS. Now, what we'll just talk about really quickly is why that is. So firstly, I want to say this might not be applicable for every build. This is mainly looking at Lightning Strike builds that would use stuff like Blizzard Crown. It would use Anger. It might use Mark of the Elder. It uses lots of items that come with a lot of flat damage. And that's the reason these lower LE DPS claws almost always beat out 3 LE claws, is because we don't need more flat damage. It really doesn't do that much. We're better off getting either percentage damage or, as we've seen, penetration. Penetration is absolutely insane in terms of how much DPS it gives you. Just look at Omni builds. Why is everyone crazy about Omni? Why does that give you so much DPS? Because it gives you an absolutely crazy amount of penetration. And the only penetration we get from the build comes from Trinity. So in Trinity's prot, you get some LE penetration depending on, what resonance you're at. We get exposure as a ranger, but that isn't the same thing as penetration. Penetration is really, really hard to get on a build in certain numbers. There's a few nodes that give you a little bit of penetration, but it's normally lightning or cold or fire. Whereas on this claw, you can get 13% all LE penetration for 1x. And that's really all I wanted to say on the video, is just don't judge a claw by LE DPS, because if you do, you might end up spending 10x more on a claw that actually you could have got for 2x and maybe even got a better claw for that amount. All it needs normally is 1 benchcraft. So before we close out the video, I'll just say, in terms of what you're looking for, you need lightning damage. So don't buy one that's cold and fire, because lightning is where the majority of our damage comes from. It increases our shock. Obviously, Lightning Strike has inbuilt lightning damage as well. That should always be the high roll. So you want a high roll of lightning. The second roll can be fire or cold. And then you're looking for some sort of attack speed and crit. And then with a lot of these claws, they've rolled with an open prefix. To get the LE DPS up a bit, people have crafted the other element on it. But in terms of DPS, it does nothing for the claw. So all I went on is looked at ones where I could change the prefix. Okay, that one can be changed to penetration. Switch a few things around, and you end up with a claw that performs absolutely brilliantly for maybe a fifth of the budget if you would have gone for a tri-LE claw. This video is really for people that have maybe been struggling to get that 12 to 15x to buy what they think might be an endgame claw. And it's really the videos to kind of get people to rethink about what constitutes a good claw. If you're ever unsure, do what I've done, open up Path of Building. You can just copy and paste the items in with Control-C and Control-V. See what it does to your build compared to maybe a claw that might be 15 to 20x. So that's it for me today. Short and sweet. I just wanted to bring a video out on this because I'm getting a lot of questions about it on Discord. And it's kind of made me rethink, because I was zooming along thinking my claw was like best in slot because it's, triple essence LE damage claw with high attack speed and high crit. The only reason I stopped to think about it is I recombinated a claw that's only got 2 elemental damages, and it rolled quite a high LE damage with attacks roll. And when I put it into POB, it was only 5% less than my claw, and I would think I could get it on the market for 2x. So it made me rethink maybe what I want to do for a claw, and that's what I'm going to do. I want T1 lightning, T2 cold, T1 cold, something like that, and I don't care about the third because I want penetration as that third roll. So that's it for this video. If I come across any other things I notice when I'm, searching for gear crafting or buying stuff, I'll bring a video out to try and help people out, because I know some people are struggling certainly with the claws. So as always, take care and see you in the next video.